This is IA Forward, your playbook for success as an independent insurance agent. Here to help you knock it out of the ballpark are your hosts, Shane Tatum and Tonya Lead.
Welcome to IA Forward. Happy Thanksgiving week. We are so thankful that you are joining us this week and always.
Absolutely. It is the beginning. Well, that's not fair. The beginning of my holiday season started like almost a month ago with November 1st in my household. And so, but this is my favorite time of the year. And I love to eat. I love the holiday season. I love decorations. Man, I'm always overwhelmed with the blessings of this time of year.
I'm extraordinarily blessed this holiday season because this is the last thing that I do before I get on a flight and I head to St. Martin. So while all of y'all are eating turkey and dressing, I'm going to be in the islands enjoying lobster and seafood and all such things. So I'm very thankful for that. Thanks for the time off, Shane.
You're welcome. And I'm actually glad that I'm not going to St. Martin with you and Daniel. And I'm just, because I was told the other day that we flew, we being my wife and I, we were on 44 flights this year, which is a new record for us. And you know what? We love being at home right now. Like, we are so excited to have a home for the holidays, no travel. I mean, we have zero travel. Like, this is maybe the first time in a long time that we have zero travel. Like, we're hosting our extended family from the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We don't even have to go there this year. Like, everyone is coming to us. And so this is wonderful after you've spent your year traveling really all over the country, Europe, all over the place. I mean, we've been to a lot of places this year. And so just that difference for us this year is just, it's exciting to be home.
Well, congratulations on reaching A-list again on the Southwest Airlines. Did you get A-list preferred this year?
Yes.
There you go.
I believe I did. I believe we are. It's kind of getting a little bit bougie with it, with all their changes and, you know, all the different options that we're getting that others that I'm seeing aren't getting when they're trying to book flights. And I don't know, that's I guess the Southwest version of first class, maybe, and being able to do some things that are like so many other airlines. Still not happy. Don't let this confuse you that I don't want to confuse anyone that I'm happy with Southwest's changes, but I am happy that I am A-list preferred.
I tried to book a flight on Southwest yesterday and it was over $800 out of Pensacola. So I was just like, woof. Their new changes are not working for me. Yeah. So I think I'm going back to being a Delta girl and being from Northeast Louisiana, which is the home of Delta Airlines. That kind of feels good.
Yep,
but
I get it.
I'm gonna miss my Southwest flights.
Yeah, no, I get it. I would understand that as well if I was that close to Atlanta. And you know, we do have United is our big airline. No, you don't like them, but we're good on international flights with United. Like, we have great experiences there. That's the closest airport for us. It's you know, we're in the rural area of East Texas, and so it's an hour and a half to get to Bush, and it's 2 hours and 15 minutes to get to Hobby, where Southwest flies, and that's our closest airports. And so we don't mind going to Bush, except they're still in the middle of construction decade. At some point, if they finish and they kind of stabilize and the construction isn't crazy and you can actually just go park and walk in, if you can ever do that again, then I might I might go back to some United stuff, but we just don't have the Delta hub, and I did fly Delta twice this year out of those 44 flights, and it was good. Like, I had a really good experience. I had no complaints. Price was fair. Really no issues, right? So I would do it if it was close. It's just not close.
Right. Back to Thanksgiving week. I was talking to a girlfriend of mine last night who is an attorney, and she switched jobs recently. And she was talking about her goals and some of the things that she wanted to do in this new position. And she used the phrase that I hear so much, well, it's getting toward the end of the year. Maybe I should wait and start all of these plans in January. And then my husband, working in a very corporate world, if I walk by his office during the day, over the last 2 weeks, I've been hearing the phrase that I really can't stand, which is, well, let's circle back around to this after the holidays. The ultimate corporate phrase, right? And when I was talking to my girlfriend last night, I said, the new year is 6 weeks away. Why are you willing to throw away 6 weeks? Would you throw away 6 weeks in March? Would you throw away 6 weeks in July or August? Why are you willing to throw 6 weeks away in November? That's crazy. And maybe it's a different mindset for me coming out of the media world, the marketing world. November and December are by far the busiest time of year in those worlds, right? I mean, looking at media, you are setting your buys for the whole entire year on top of all of the retail craziness, right? And so November and December, if you're a marketer, can be a 70 or 80-hour work week. So when I hear people say, oh, let's circle back around, or nobody's going to do this over the holidays, I don't understand it. This is the time, because nobody else may be working, that may give you the time to really do some great things.
Yeah, I've got a couple of comments on this. Like, insurance industry is terrible at this, and I think we need to be better at this, and I try to personally be better. But just, same with me on a call just yesterday, and trying to get back, and obviously we're recording this a little bit ahead, so it's the week before, and so that Thanksgiving week, when you're listening to this podcast, you're going to hear like that week, like I'm working Monday through Wednesday. I'm not giving up this 6 weeks thing like Tonya's talking about. Like I'm actually pushing the gas pedal, and we were trying to get back together with this potential new opportunity, and in a way, really, they're selling us on what they can do. It's not as much us selling them in this particular case, and it's a potential new carrier partner, and we're available. Like, we're like, hey, y'all let's get back together. I'd like to see a little bit more. It was just kind of that the conversation was fantastic. They wanted to show us a little bit more, but they weren't prepared. And I'm like, well, hey, let's get back together. How about next week? How about next Tuesday? Right. And they were like, well, I mean, we can get back together after Thanksgiving. And I'm like, okay, like, fine, that's fine. Like, it's okay if you want to do that, but I can get back together next week. Like, I think there's a little bit of, and they could too. That was the really funny part. Like, everyone was available, but they wanted to get back together after Thanksgiving. It's like, well, we'll circle back after the holidays. Like, okay, but if everyone's available and we can get back together next week, why are we waiting an extra week? Why are we kicking that can down the road? And when I got off the call, what hit me was, I think everybody's just trying to be almost too polite. Like, it was almost like they didn't want to interrupt my Thanksgiving week. It's like Thanksgiving now has a week because the schools take out a week versus taking off the 2 days historically when I was young. You know, we were out Thursday, Friday, right? Well, now schools are out the entire week. Like, let's just kill the whole week, right? And so I think there's a little bit of that going on in various industries. I know the marketing, the media, I get it. Like retail's blowing up, obviously. Black Friday sales, big holiday season. But at the same time, we got other industries that are like kicking the can down the road to January. And I am not a fan. Like, I'm just not. I'm like, let's go. Let's get this done. Let's get this moving. Because when January gets here, I want to go.
Let's talk about what we can tackle in the next 6 weeks, right? So we don't want you to go into this overload, but I definitely don't want you to have first week of January overload either, right? Why, to me, this should be the time that you start reviewing your financials, that you start thinking about your strategy for 2026. Because if you wait till 2026 to start looking at strategy, then guess what? You're going to go through the year without a strategy. Figure out what you can do in the next 6 weeks that's going to set you up to be incredibly successful next year.
Yeah, and that's my 6-week strategy is it's always surrounding planning, getting things queued up as much as I can, queuing up our people as much as I can with, okay, let's invest in some training. Let's do some development. If we're not selling anything necessarily, or if December is a dip, typically is a dip in the insurance buying season. People are not excited about buying insurance, unless they're closing on their home or buying a new vehicle, whatever, unless they have a pain point, like one of their first teenager hits the 16th birthday driving age in the month of December. They might be in a little bit different scenario of being interested in checking out their insurance, but most people aren't, right? So as an insurance agency, what do we do? Like, how do we deal with that? And for me, it's always been about planning, and it's always been about gearing up. It's actually not overwhelming for me because I enjoy planning. And here's the really interesting thing. And I'm not a good planner. So that's weird, right? Like, I enjoy something I'm not good at. That never really happens in the world. Most people are not enjoying things they're not good at. But most of my planning is like speculating, right? Like creating ideas, like, creating goals and thinking about that. But the funny part that hit me probably now 20 years ago, your insurance carriers have been planning for several months, and they probably started walking into your offices, scheduling Teams and Zoom calls in October. The really, really, really excited ones started in September, but at a minimum October, and then again through November, and then a few late stragglers will come in early December. But they are coming into your agency, and they're doing planning with you. Like, what do you think you can do next year? What do you think your production's going to look like? What kind of changes are you looking at? What has always happened to me up until the last few years is we would get caught sort of, offhand here, like we weren't ready. We weren't ready for this. So then we would end up sort of rubber stamping, like what the carrier rep would come in and go, hey, can you do an increase of 5% next year? And we're looking at the numbers, and we're like, yeah, because we're salespeople, and we're not going to tell one of our major carriers, I don't think we can hit that number next year. Nobody does that. Like I didn't do that. We just said yes. And so here's an idea for all of you agency owners, salespeople out there. You got to figure out all those promises you made in October when you were doing planning with your carrier relationships. You need to be sitting down and looking at how you're going to make those numbers next year, right? And so if you need some motivation, your carrier partners that you made promises to are now expecting you to hit some goals. And that is a reason in and of itself to do some planning.
Planning is important, but December is not the time for heroics either, right? Like when it comes to setting goals, sometimes we get these big ideas. I'm going to sell 50K more per month next year. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Just know that your producers, the people in your office, they're not mentally present for major changes. So as a business owner, yes, you need to be in a planning stage, but don't freak out your people trying to set huge, big, vague things that can even seem disconnected from what they do, right? This is one of those times that when you're setting goals and trying to figure out, set measurable priorities instead of these crazy big milestones that are going to freak your people out.
Oh, freak your people out. I don't care. I love impossible goals, and I'm going to be counter to that advice, but there's a place for both, right? I will compromise and say, yes, she's not wrong. But you need to be a better translator. You need to be a better communicator. But I'm also in this season of life where I think we need to scale as an organization to a little different level. And I have been talking about impossible goals and stretch goals and things of that nature. I think this is personality too. And I think to Tonya's point, you do have to be careful with your people, and you need to be able to meet your people where they are. You need to understand really what does their world look like, not only professionally, but personally. And you need to be able to kind of like, okay, look, I know this is where we are. I know this is where I want to go. And then the thing for me is, do you have the tools in place as an owner? Do you have the support mechanism in place as a business in order to support that impossible goal that you're throwing out there at people? And that's kind of my aha over the last few weeks, is I'm throwing out impossible goal ideas and thoughts, but I'm also thinking about what the missing pieces are that would maybe freak out our people, and go, well, that's just, not only is it an impossible goal, it's literally impossible for me to even come close to that goal. Well, okay, the whole thing about that is you want people to be pushed past the level they think they're capable of, right? But like for me, I kind of think about it in terms of, we're really, really efficient right before we go on vacation. We're really, really good at hitting deadlines if we have shorter deadlines versus longer deadlines. Like there is just a human psyche situation here where, not having this long, we'll reach it one day, it'll be 6 months. Let's take 6 months to do that. How about 6 weeks? Well, you know what? How about 2 weeks? Let's figure that out in the next 2 weeks. And so you hear a lot of business leaders talk about it in that light, right? And so I think there's a mixture here, and I think it's important that you understand the mindset of your people, and you understand where you're missing people and how to translate what you're trying to do as a business owner and get them to where you want to be, right? That get them on the same page with you. Man, that is a harder and harder process. For me, it's a harder and harder process, and I feel it. I witness it. I'm sure Tonya feels it from time to time as well. Our leadership team probably feels it, because it's like, okay, that one missed. That was an idea in my head. It didn't quite come out of my mouth the way that I had it in my head. And so what did I do wrong, and how do I get better at doing that?
Looking at 2026 agency goals, I want you to think about focusing on a progress over perfection mindset. And the fact that Shane is not falling out of his chair right now as I say that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Listen to that growth coming out in live podcast world. Like, listen to that progress over perfection. I love it. That is our feeling for 2026.
So in order to do that, things have to be super measurable, right? And figuring out things like, what is 2026 me going to thank me for? Like, what do I need more of? What do I need less of? To me, looking at things for 2026 is more about building a rhythm, and what rhythm do I need to be in, as opposed to, and if you've listened to this podcast at all in the last 3 years, you know that I don't do New Year's resolutions. I don't like New Year's resolutions. But this year, I am focused on setting some New Year rhythms, which I believe is going to be really effective for me, and really being focused on creating processes within the chaos.
Yeah, I love rhythm. I love that word, and I love that approach. Rhythm makes a whole lot more sense than goals, right? Necessarily. I know we need some finite goals. I know there needs to be something. If I do this many calls, this many quotes, this many whatever, then I should get this many sales. That's never going to change. Like, that's always going to be sales 101. But what I see, and to Tonya's point, that I see a lot, is people set these goals, but they don't stay with those goals, right? Or they get discouraged because they didn't hit them right away, or they just don't stay consistent. And consistency is the name of the game. And I would define consistency. Better word might be rhythm, right? Is you need to find that rhythm consistency. If your day become your week, your month, if that flow, if discipline around the processes helps you keep that rhythm, you're going to be a whole lot better off, right? This is kind of back to that 6 weeks pause, or that scenario that we're talking about here, starting back up after that pause. Like, I'm in the middle of trying to get back into running. That's, I ran for years. I have moved to walking because I'm getting vintage, and I hear all these people like, save your knees, you can walk, same thing. Your heart rate, doesn't do the same thing. So I'm getting back into running. I'm trying. So right now I'm in a walk run rhythm, right? I'm in a walk run phase. So over the course of 4 miles, I'm doing a walk run kind of thing. It's really hard. Like, I'm a guy that for years and years, well into my 40s, that could just not run for a while, month, 2 months, and then go run 3 miles. Like, I could do that. And I can't do it anymore. I have to get back into shape. And honestly, it's one of the most difficult physical things in all my years that I am having to do, is to get my endurance back up, to retrain my muscles to be strong enough to do this. It's a lot. Like it just, the older you get, the harder it gets to just be able to pop up and do something. And that got me to thinking about what this topic that Tonya wanted to talk about. Like when you pause your rhythm, when you say, oh, let's get back together after the first of the year, when you shut down your process, when you shut down your progress, getting that thing cranked back up is extremely difficult. I highly discourage it. Like, slowing down your rhythm is better than pausing your rhythm, right? And so being able to kind of do that would be a better 6-week strategy through the holidays than a total shutdown, right? Or a total phase out. Let's just get back together. And that's what's kind of driving me crazy right now about why couldn't we just get back together next week and talk, right? And I hope those guys aren't listening to this going, well, I didn't know it was going to offend him that bad. I mean, I'm not offended. I'm using that as an example. So guys, if you're listening, I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, I think as a society, we've done that to ourselves. Like in certain industries, we've hit the holiday season and said, oh, it's the holidays. See you next year. Right. And our industry, the insurance industry, is really, really bad about it.
Looking at this time from a mental perspective, one of the things that I have been really focused on for the last 4 to 6 weeks has been creating psychological white space, which sounds a little bit odd, but
it's very fancy. Very fancy.
But figuring out how to reduce mental load and letting things be manageable mentally to not get overwhelming has been really important to me. And it's actually something that I am creating time in my calendar to be able to think. And this is one of those things that Shane has done for years, and he's talked about it. And my brain doesn't necessarily work that way. I'm so ADHD that my brain doesn't shut down. It just doesn't. Like Shane will tell you that, I'll come to him with an idea and he'll be like, okay. And I'm like, it was 2:00 in the morning and I was doing this and I was thinking about this. And he just gives me this look that you guys will see, that he looks at me like I have 3 heads, and he's very fond of all 3 of the heads, but he still looks at me like I have them, right? And creating this time for psychological white space to really reduce the mental load is one of those places that I'm aiming for progress, not perfection, but is a real focus for me, and including that as part of my rhythm for next year. As a business owner, you never stop thinking. Like you don't. I mean, you may not be at the office, but you're always thinking. And maybe try to start figuring out, okay, how can I make a small shift to create the white space I need to not be totally stressed all the time?
So this is big, right? Big stuff, important stuff. Thinking is working in business leadership, in business ownership. My leadership team inside the Integra organization, which are not necessarily business owners, right? Except for a couple of family members. These are not business owners, they're business leaders, however. And I'm blessed enough to have business leaders that think when they're not, quote, at the office or during 8 to 5. That's a huge blessing. It's not something that every organization has, and I never lost on that. I was taught years ago that thinking is working, and in the world that we live in, it's even more important to gravitate to the fact that thinking is a form of work. The my boomer generation, not my generation, I'm an Xer, my Xer generation, the boomer generation that I worked under, that mentored me, trained me through the years. This was a hard transition for them, right? Being at your desk equals working. What they didn't recognize in my evaluation, someone like my dad included, was he was thinking all the time, and he was working when he was thinking, but he didn't see it through that lens, right? Because his mentorship came from the greatest generation, right? Which was, there was, you work 6-7 days a week sometimes. Like there wasn't, the 40-hour week wasn't as prevalent to the greatest generation, right? That's the title that they give the generation above the boomers. And so it's like you're moving down this pathway, and you have to understand why you think the way you think, why you feel the way you feel. And that goes into that psychological white space that Tonya's thinking about. You have to give yourself permission, right? And I've talked about this with boomers, right? I've talked about this with boomers, and I've had boomers, employed, and I've had to explain to them that, you got to give yourself permission to be able to leave early today. And that's a struggle for a boomer. It's a struggle for some Gen Xers. They feel guilty, right? Business owners feel guilty. I've been through this season of life. Like, well, if I'm not at the office, then people are going to think I'm lazy, or people are going to think I'm taking advantage, or I'm not working. What I can tell you is that the boomers that I saw, go get on the tractor and mow, or go chop a stump, they were still thinking about their business. They didn't see themselves working when they were doing that. And so this is a big thing that I think the younger generations have figured out a lot quicker, is that that thinking is working, and that there is the need for thinking time, for white space time. Same thing to me, because white space time is thinking time. And that just because you're not on the phone, creating something, building something, that doesn't mean that you're not actually working during that time. And I go back and forth. Like, I'm not perfect here. Like, I struggle with this sometimes still. I struggle with it sometimes with our people. Like, are they working? Are they, what are they doing? What are they doing? And so it's kind of back to that, I can't see them. So then you get a whole nother episode of the trust factor, and are they getting their work done? Are we seeing results? And so you just get into a lot here that goes with this psychological white space. But I 100% concur that it is critical. And this is one of those things that everyone could get better at.
If you work from home, if you have people that work from home, even if you work in the office, on this, go to lunch. Like, it's okay to go to lunch. And
I never miss lunch, by the way. I never worked through lunch. I never worked through lunch. I never worked through lunch. Absolutely.
This is one of those things that I feel guilty about. Like, if I leave my house to go to lunch, I feel like I've done something wrong, which is odd, right? Because it's like, I can't do that. I can't meet you for lunch, and I'm like, no, it's okay to eat. Like, I can leave the house and I can go to the restaurant at the corner, and I can meet you for lunch, right? And it's okay to take that break. And I think that's one of those things that people that work from home, business owners that work from home, you have a tendency to forget that you need that break, right? You need to step away for even if it's just 15 minutes, to go in there and like heat something up and actually sit down. Don't bring it back to your desk and eat it, right? And so a lot of I'm so glad that you take lunch. That's fantastic. But a lot of people don't. And it is okay to take that time beyond a business lunch to take a little bit of time for yourself during the day and go and do what you need to do and take care of you. Because if you were going in the office or if you were employed by someone else, you would probably take a lunch. It's okay to do those things and get in a habit, make that part of your rhythm to step back. I do want to caution you while Shane and I are saying, let's go for the next 6 weeks. What I have seen agency owners do that tend to be mistakes are try to fix everything in December, right? It's this, you don't have to launch big initiatives. You don't have to do this full strategy overhaul before 2026. You don't have to revise everything. You don't have to be in this place of perfection for next year that you can't enjoy the holidays, right? Don't stop, but don't decide to change everything either.
Yeah, so I'm going to introduce you to a term, if you haven't heard it before, that is a baseball term, and I want you to think about this when it comes to that. Micro adjustments, okay? I think as business owners, we tend to make big adjustment swings. Like and especially to Tonya's point, this time of year, we tend to try to over implement, over adjust. And it's really easy, right? It's really easy. We get caught up in, watching somebody live a little bit, too perfectly through social media. And we think we've got to make this huge swing and we've got to make this huge adjustment. Your business and your people will be better served by you adopting a micro adjustment strategy mentally, personally. This is a baseball, a hitting thing, right? So we call it making, when you're in the batter's box, making a micro box adjustment. So that means, instead of moving from the back of the box to the front of the box, or instead of moving off the plate 6 inches or up on the plate 6 inches, the idea is instead of back of the box to front of the box, you move back of the box up 2 inches. Micro adjustment. And your timing, all of a sudden in hitting, your timing that was slightly off goes into perfection. It just literally locks you in. Like a micro adjustment versus huge adjustments. A huge adjustment would be front of the box to back of the box or vice versa. A micro adjustment would be, back of the box to 3/4 back of the box, right? Mm-hmm. And so think about that from a business owner standpoint. Like, what does that practically look like? Well, instead of overhauling something, or instead of like saying, we need all these new tools. Well, a micro adjustment might mean, pause. What do the tools we already have in place and that we're purchasing, what do they do that we're not using? That's a micro adjustment. Is there something in there? I was talking to my sister the other day who runs our partner solutions department, and we were talking about little screen share Loom videos, and how to do little micro trainings and micro bits of information to our partner network. And I just said, hey, you thought about this? And she's like, oh, that's a good idea. And we go through it, and I'm like, I'm aware of Loom. I know that's a product that's out there. And, and she goes, I wonder if Teams has something like that. Or I wonder if Microsoft has something like that. It does. And it does, right? And so it's kind of like the big adjustment is introduce an entirely new thing. The micro adjustment is, what else do we have available to us already that we could actually implement? And Tonya and I's favorite, we're together on this, get us 80% of the way there, right? And so it doesn't have to get us 100% of the way there. And so I love the idea of training your brain for micro adjustments over major overhaul type adjustments.
Coming from a dance background, a ballroom dance background, you never make large adjustments. I mean, you make like 1-degree adjustments. You may even take your pinky, your right pinky, and change it from a 34-degree angle to a 36-degree angle. And your partner's going to feel that. Or if you're in a ballet class or in a tap class and you make a huge adjustment, you're going to hit the floor. Those micro adjustments are the only thing that you can make, or it's going to be a hot mess express. And when I made that connection with why am I trying to make these huge changes when I know that small changes work better from a physical perspective, that was a huge shift for me. The one place that I really realized this was probably 15 years ago. And I was working with my sales team and I was going in and I was, at the end of the year and we're setting goals. And like, I don't use Shane's term of impossible goals because from a mental perspective, that's the idea of me telling people that I know they can't hit them anyway. So why should they actually try? But I would go in and I would set these stretch goals for people and say, hey, like, let's, this is what I want you to achieve. This is what I want you to achieve. And I would kind of get these blank stares. And one year I spent the 2 weeks with the entire team and did that. And then I got to thinking about it and I'm like, they didn't have any say in that. So I brought all of those people back in for goal setting meetings again. And instead of sharing with them what I needed them to do, I asked questions and I listened. And I said, okay, what goals do you think you can reach? And tell me why. And then tell me what it would take for you to reach these. How can I best serve you to help you reach these things, right? And we ended up in most places with those same goals, but I had a better understanding of what did they need. And my team was in a much better position at the end of going into that year and at the end of next year because I did that. And, that's what Shane has done in a different way in the last few weeks is he set these impossible goals, but then he's come back and said, okay, well, I'm going to give you some tools to help you reach those goals, right? So this may be one of those things that instead of, sitting down with your producers and saying, this is what I need you to do next year, look at it as more of an opportunity to listen and say, okay, what can you reach? How can I help you? I know we are on the backside of the hardest market that we have ever seen. How can I make this better for you next year? And yes, there's going to be a little bit of negativity there because they've gone through heck and kept on going for the last 2 years, right? They're still in it with you. And listen to that, listen to their feedback, and then ask the questions to turn that around to make 2026 amazing for them and in turn incredible for your agency.
I'm having this like help me help you moment.
Yes.
Is that
yes.
Is that Jerry Maguire?
That is Jerry Maguire. And if you do not get that reference, then because let me tell you, I have used that twice recently and had people go, huh?
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart that there are now 2 generations of people that don't know help me help you, right? That have never seen Jerry Maguire.
Yeah, help me help you. I that is, I think that's my kind of, maybe that's a little bit of growth on my part, because I'm in a generation that still was for sure raised 100% on because I said so. Um,
Yes. Yes.
and that's, I think that's what's sometimes hard, leading people, managing, is when you're crossing multi generations, that it's like everything's a why today, like, and it's like, well, why do we do it that way? Or why is this the way it is? Or why do we want to achieve that goal? Why? I mean, Simon Sinek, start with why. Like the entire books, there is a man who has become very successful, wealthy, everything around the concept of explaining why. Um, and if you are one of those holdouts that's like, I don't have to explain why, I don't have to explain myself, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that, just do it because I said so. I mean, fine, you can do that. It's your business. Run your business, Justin Hoosman. Run your business how you want to run your business, right? And so I'm okay with that. It's your business. Independent agency systems built on that thing. What I want you to hear is that the people that you are employing, the new workforce, the next generation, the next few generations, they want clarity. They want to understand why. It's not even argumentative. That was the thing that was hard for me to get over, was I interpreted their questions, them being millennials, Gen Z, both of them below me in generations. I interpreted their questions sometimes disrespectfully, like originally, like, it's kind of disrespectful, like, because I'm from the because I said so generation, right? And so once you grow, once you understand that, hey, it's kind of better. Like, it's kind of better it's a lot better. It's not kind of better. It's a lot better to say, look, this is why I'm setting an impossible goal for our organization. One, I believe in you, and I think you can do more. One, I think we can do more. One, we need to reach scale. We need to reach that level, because if we reach that level, this is what happens to us. This is what we are able to do. It's not even just about making more money. Like that's not the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is to be able to be more stable, to be able to do things ahead of the hiring curve. I mean, there's so many reasons, there's so much why behind why we need to reach scale as an organization. If you and your agency, if you take that and you take that to your people and you put the why, and you create this white space, this psychological white space to have thinking time, and you give yourself permission that thinking is working, and you use that to get better at it, translating and showing the why and explaining the why, your people, I mean, it's the proverbial like coach with the players that'll run through a brick wall for you, right?
Or be smart.
If you're doing that, then you're investing in your people. If you're explaining the why, it's a form of investment in your people, because they need what you really want, right? Kind of full circle back to this goal conversation. What you really want is, help me help you, is you really want to go in and say, okay, this is the impossible goal that I have. I want you to want the same impossible goal. If I could just like say, that's what I want, right? Now, let me explain why. Let me explain why I want you to have this same impossible goal. Let me explain what it means for you, and let me explain why I think you're capable of that. You're going to have people that'll run through a brick wall for you, right? That's just my experience and my experience with people and experience with, it doesn't matter. Men, women, gender, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter age. That's just a reality.
Happy Thanksgiving. Enjoy your turkey and your dressing and your family and your football, because this is the best football week. In fact, let's do some picks just for fun.
All right. Give me
Okay.
Let's go.
Texas A&M. That's the big one at your house.
Aggies, 100%.
I'm with you on that one. Yep.
100%.
Yes.
And I
yes.
have to choose them. I don't have a choice. But anyway, I'm still, even if I didn't have to choose them, I would choose them.
Yep. Okay. Ohio State and Michigan.
Ohio State.
Yep. I'm with you on that too. Okay. LSU and Oklahoma.
Ooh. So I can't root for the Sooners, sorry, on any level, because I went to Oklahoma State. But actually, just trying to be objective here, I think LSU's got some fire, got a little bit there. I think they're going to be ready to go. I think I'm going to go with LSU.
Really?
Yep. I'm picking.
Okay. Well, I have to go with LSU.
I know.
But
you don't have a lot of confidence in that.
But I don't on this one. And I just, I'm hoping, I'm keeping my fingers crossed, but I'm not flying to Oklahoma from St. Martin to watch a game. Let's just put it that way.
I think the boys are trying to show Lane Kiffin, what they're
I think
like.
they are. I think they are. We'll see. Okay. So Ole Miss, Mississippi State.
Ole Miss. Yep.
And Georgia Tech, because Georgia Tech looks good this year.
Okay, that's a tough one actually. Where are they at? Are they at Georgia Tech?
I don't know don't they usually play in Atlanta? I don't know.
Like a neutral site maybe game.
Let me look. I don't know the answer to that question.
Ooh, okay. Here's
They're
one.
at Georgia Tech. They're at Georgia Tech.
Okay, all right. So that even helps me further. So Haynes King, Texas boy, former Aggie who found his place, right? He found his promised land in Georgia Tech, and I'm going with Georgia Tech on the big upset here.
Wow. I just talking about players that would run through a big brick wall. I just think that Kirby Smart's guys aren't going to let that happen.
This is good.
Okay, big one. This is the game that I'm probably looking forward to more than anything. Tennessee versus Vandy.
Yeah. Again here, this is kind of like my Georgia Tech pick. Like everything in my mind says Tennessee is going to win this game, but I'm going with the grit. I'm going with the grit of Vandy, and I'm saying Vandy's winning this game.
I am too. Yeah. Okay. And so let's give a little bit of a nod to Emma. Kansas versus Kansas State, the Sunflower Showdown.
Oh, yeah. No, got to go with the Jayhawks. They're frustrated. Think they expected better this season. It's kind of, one of those things, but I'm definitely going with the Jayhawks here.
Okay, and last one, the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss, Mississippi State.
Ole Miss, 100%. Yeah. Ole Miss.
And hopefully it will be Lane Kiffin's last game at Ole Miss. We will see.
Man, I don't know. I know.
I don't think it's going to be, but we'll see. And they gave him until this game to make the decision, to make an announcement. And I personally have never been a Lane Kiffin fan at all whatsoever. I think he brings chaos and challenges to every school that he has ever been at. But I also know that Lane has made some big personal changes this year, and he has changed who he is as a person. And, every great change happens with a catalyst. You can't have a change without a catalyst. And he found his catalyst and is really evolving into a different human being.
Yeah.
And that being said, I would love to have the combo of Kiffin and Ogeron at LSU, which is, I mean, at least, if you read it on social media, it can happen, right?
Yeah. No, I think Lane Kiffin has grown on me. It's weird. I did not like him at first. He's grown on me. I think college football needs Lane Kiffin. And I think that what's really interesting is I was a huge Mike Leach fan, and hate that we lost him so soon. But
Yes.
I think Lane Kiffin is, the new generation Mike Leach. Like, I just think we need Lane Kiffin in college football. I mean, I hate it for Ole Miss. I think he's a perfect poster boy for Ole Miss. Just,
Yeah.
probably being unpolitically correct there, but he fits Ole Miss perfectly.
He does. He does.
But really, he's going to fit a lot of programs. Like, he's going to fit LSU in a slightly different way. I'm sorry to say this, he would
fit Florida.
perfectly Florida, right?
Yes,
I mean,
he would. He would.
probably not so much Florida State, but he would fit perfectly at Florida. He would fit perfectly at LSU. So I just think college football needs Lane Kiffin. So for me, it's just, let's just make sure he stays in college football, right? I just don't want him in the NFL anymore. Like, keep him in college football.
I think he learned that lesson from Saban.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to stay in college ball specifically because of Coach Saban. So happy Thanksgiving. I'm going to leave us today with this quote from Alex Morgan. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be better than yesterday.
Attitude's a choice. Make a great one.
Bye, y'all.
At the Integra Partner Network, we understand that carrier access is the key to your agency's success. That's why Integra offers direct access to top-rated personal and commercial carriers, ensuring your agency thrives in today's challenging market. And with our comprehensive resources, profit sharing and bonus opportunities, technology and peer support, all while you retain 100% of your book with no penalties to exit. Integra is ready to empower you and your agency to find sustained growth. Find your way to Integra. Visit IntegraPartnerNetwork.com today. That's IntegraPartnerNetwork.com.